Good evening, everyone. And on today's video, we'll be talking about lineages as part of our package of videos talking about the character creation process. Basically, three pillars to creating a character, which is its lineage, its class, and its backstory. And in creating a character, you can do it in any order you like, although it's probably most logical to start with class, so then you can pin down your four attributes and then start making choices to flesh out the character. And the other choices you can make in any order you wish. And we do want to pin them down because most of the systems they have bonuses to attributes based on either lineage or backstory, which means that you write down an attribute and then if you got a paper version you have to rub it out and add it again. We wanted to have clear layers so you didn't have to do that. The other principle is a fairly modern one of your lineage does not affect your attributes. The reason for that is if you're a min-max or optimizer, it's always suboptimal to have some classes rather than others, cleric orcs. No, so we didn't want that. So basically, if you want to go with the stereotype of a lineage, such as a strong orc, then you choose to put your points in strength. It's entirely up to you. Uh, Also, if you want to, there are plenty of heroic gnomes who are barbarians, and we didn't want to repeat the racist tropes of some lineages being less intelligent than others. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the 21 lineages. Each of them have a page in the book, and probably over two videos for purposes of manageability. Now, each lineage has five um, traits, which are an ability or bonus to a skill or that kind of thing. And one what's called last gasp ability. The last gasp ability is a bit experimental, but what we wanted to give is where the character draws on their ancestry in a desperate situation to try and get out of a difficult encounter or to turn the odds. They're a bit of fun, but we'll see how playtesting goes with those. They're a new feature to the game. Okay, so I will just now switch the screen. That's probably help with screen resolution. Okay, here we go. And now I'll just switch back the okay, right. Got it to work now. Um, so we'll just zoom in to humans. Okay. Um, Now, humans do not have some of the exotic powers, obviously, of some of the other lineages, but what humans are above all are adaptable and flexible, certainly in terms of skill. So humans get the first one is human versatility. Humans get an extra skill. Um, Human intuition. Humans gain perception and scouting at train level. Um, Human integrity, very good at telling lies. Humans gain telling porkies at trained level, and also intimidation at trained level. I think probably what's in history has been humans' main advantage is gaining truck and trade at trained level. Also, humans are good at strategizing, which gives them their last cast ability, which is when the escalation dice is 3 or higher, they can come up with a stratagem which the next turn your party rolls at edge. Okay, so humans are very straightforward and easy. You get these bonuses to skills um, and those bonuses are useful for all levels really. Um, okay, so now let's go to the next lineage, which is Neanderthals. Um, Neanderthals are very similar to humans. Um, Basically, in the game, Neanderthals are an underclass because they're limited in number. They've been driven mostly, but not entirely, from their tribal homelands. Those in cities are left with the most menial tasks, or made into gladiators, or forced into being adventurers. Um, Now they get at athletics at trained level, um, as well as being trained in perception and scouting. Unlike humans, for example, they've got a very strong sense of smell, so anything involving smell, which most checks will be, unless they're upwind, they roll at edge. They they will have survival at trained level, um, and also tend to injuries, in this case herbalism, at trained level, and nature at trained level. They also have a courage um, last gasp ability, which increases their damage. Um, they're likely to speak common if they have a backstory that involves them being in civilization. If not, they will just speak their own language, Neanderthal. Neanderthals are quite a lot of fun, I think. They're large humanoids. I should mention that, and they have a bonus to speed as well. So Neanderthals are particularly good if you want to fight a ranger or barbarian character, but they're good for builds for pretty much any class as well. They share some of the adaptability of humans. Okay, so let's go on to dwarfs. Now we know dwarfs, so um, I should say, why have we chosen these lineages as opposed to the vast range of humanoidish uh, races that are in the bestiary? Well, we've chosen ones that um, stay on land, are not entirely confined to water or airborne or underneath, um, and to maintain the basic time tension of the lighting mechanic like Shadow Dark, we've excluded lineages such as Dark Gnomes, etc., which have strong dark vision. So dwarves have dark vision, but basically if you play a character dwarf, you're likely to be a hill dwarf or a cave dwarf. You're likely to be the type of dwarf that spends their whole life underground. But most dwarfs don't spend their whole life underground. They come up above the ground to grow barley and malt for their beer, etc. So they unlikely to develop very strong dark vision. So, in terms of their traits, they only have 6th Althus, which is 6 times 5, 30 feet dark vision, which is half of, say, a drow or something like that. So you can't play a drow because, they have darkness disadvantage. When they go up above ground, they find a disadvantage. If you're playing a campaign which is entirely restricted to the underdark, underneath rather in the game, entirely possible to have a drow or snifeblian or whatever. But as a standard, you wouldn't have those classes. Another one, we don't have classes, lineages which involve flight or have strongly touched by magical or demonic or celestial powers. So we wouldn't have Dragonborn, for example. They'd be overpowered with their dragon breath. We wouldn't have tieflings, be overpowered or angel touched or whatever. Asimar characters, but we do have substitutes for them. Substitute for tieflings are Furban, which is this ancient dinosaurian race, which we'll come on to, and substitute for tieflings or fauns, which are a lot of fun, are very um, enjoying life, as we say. Lineage is a fun-loving race. In terms of that, The traits of dwarfs are familiar for many systems. They're resilient against poison. They have a low center of balance, so when it comes to attacks that would knock them back or knock them prone, um, they ro- uh, um, they roll at edge or repel roll if there's no roll. They gain professional skills in in classic dwarven trades like armorer, weaponsmith, blacksmith, brewer. They have proficiency in crossbows, and they can use dwarven crossbows, which are these fantastic mechanical crossbows which fire very strong arrows, bolts rather. And They have this dwarven resolve, which is a powerful last gasp ability. When the next attack, their TS is automatically 19, so very likely to hit and very likely to score a crit. So these benefits are um, useful across all classes, to be honest with you. Um, so, Warriors possibly a slight edge, but nothing dramatic. So our next one will be elves. Now, again, because um, elves live in woods, so why would they develop dark vision? It's not dark all the time in woods. So we've basically, in terms of their sensibility, we've given them strong eyesight, the eyesight of eagles. Da 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 da. There might also be sub races, the big pointy ears, where hearing is is your roller edge of perception. So um, think about that. Um, they're Fey, so they get the basic abilities of Fey, which is um, um, Fey magic, being charmed or possessed. Repel rolls are at edge, and they're immune to sleep because elves don't sleep; they just meditate. They're famous artificers, so jewelries, boas, wood carving, astrology. They gain proficiency in, and also proficiency in their famous elven bows as well. Um, their last gasp ability, um, the degree of success is increased by one, so you're likely to crit and so on. And their languages, they speak Sylvan, which is this Fey language that most Fey will speak. Slightly more generic language than just Elven, spoken by pixies, da 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 da, etc. Okay, gnomes. Gnomes are a lot of fun, aren't they? Should say that the gnomes are the only small lineage. Um, and being small, that gives you an advantage of +1 buff to avoid. So just smaller you are, the harder you are to hit. So sadly, our character sheets don't take that into advantage at the moment. So you need they're not clever enough to work out your lineage and any benefits of the lineage or class. So you just need to, it's automatically calculated. So you just need to manually write it in and overwrite it on the character sheet, or overwrite it in Acrobat or another PDF editor on your PDF sheet. Um, um, they're very famous for their cognition, so against mental attacks and illusions, those rolls are rolled at hindrance. I should say as well here, should have added it in, that any repel rolls by gnomes are rolled at edge. Thank you. I'm not going through these one by one. We spot these things, so I'll put that in the gnomish trait there. Um, Famous for their sense of humor, so they can take an action point to laugh and make that roll as a pre-roll action as edge. Very versatile power. They have limited night vision. Again, same as dwarves. Profession skill, and very good at sneaking and hiding, and also a special ability um, to escape, gnomic escape, escape in a dash, rendering your opponent off guard. Um, so very powerful last gasp ability. One of the better last gasp abilities for gnomes. Goblins, not all. systems have goblin characters. Well, why not? Goblins are such fun. Very misunderstood reputation. They're very ingenious. They're good at artificing. They're good at making traps. Um, Unfair reputation for being cowards. No, they're not. They're just good at fighting to live another day, really. Um, so in terms of their abilities, again they have 6 alpha, so night vision, and this self-preservation ability. They can disengage without provoking a rejoinder and hide as a few action. Um, Ingenuity, they gain alchemy and artificing at skilled level. Um, and they're one of the first adopters of gunpowder weapons, and so they have this famous weapon, the Kabangabus, which is a kind of huge blunderbuss type thing, and they're also famous for, in terms of explosives, their grenades, and their last gasp ability is their clinging bite. They bite and hang on, and if there's a half a dozen gnomes biting and hanging on, then um, a fight becomes pretty untenable. You try and call a truce. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are bigger, nastier, perhaps more evil, certainly more militaristic and organised um, branch of the goblinoid family. They are strong hearing. They use giant boars as mounts. Um, Strong as cavalry. Um, Good at making cheese. In the game, hobgoblins are nomadic and practice transhumance, taking down their herds of pigs and sheep from the mountains and across the Great Plains. Famous for their flails, which they can use to entangle, to capture slaves. They have the phalanx ability. Should explain the phalanx ability. It's important if there's more than one of you, because if there's more than one of you, then you gain a bonus to your armor class, standing next to each other. A bonus of 2 if you've got a large shield, 1 if you've got a small shield, from memory. Um, and They have this ability. Last gasp ability is Hobgoblin Discipline. They can defend with great fortitude. Very disciplined race. I like that hobgoblin picture there. Okay, so halflings. Don't say hobbits. No, 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 they're halflings, of course. Um, they're good at athletics, good at climbing, good at balancing, um, good at attacking, particularly with their famous slings. Giant creatures hit them straight between the eye. Um, They're the only lineages that has automatically the Lady Luck ability, i.e., they have luck points, um, even if they're not outlaws. I mean, the only other way of getting luck points if you're not an outlaw is through Morris dancing, if you're a druid. Um, they're brave, famously brave, of course. So they roll at edge against being shaken, feared, and panic conditions. Shaken and panicked is a lesser and a greater variant of the feared condition. Shaken, for example, just lasts 1 round. Panicked, you don't just frozen in spot, you run away as quickly as possible. So that's the difference, basically. They have stealth at skilled level, and can run through the legs of or through the space of a creature. Um, and their last gasp ability is Halfling Plug. Um, they can avoid being hit as their last gasp ability, and your opponent takes damage. Just confusing, I think, opponents by running around them, and when they flail wildly and possibly hit one of their colleagues or their feet or whatever. That's a fun last gasp ability. Kobolds. You'll note that the drawings in Kobolds are very much like the first edition drawings. They've become very draconic in games recently, rather than the kind of dog-like features. So we made sure that the kobolds are a bit dog-like. A favourite of mine, kobolds. They're again, misunderstood little creatures. Um, they have night vision, but only to 6, because these are the type of kobolds that don't live all the time in mines. They go outside as well to trade. They're famous for their traps. So they train at lay and disarm traps, which is normally only available to outlaws. Um, um, they have um, when they're fighting against enemies at night or underground that don't have night vision, they attack at edge, but again, they attack at hindrance in bright light. They have this net catapult which they fire to capture their opponents. They love ambushes, kobolds, so they love their traps and their nets to try and gain their edge and attack with um, uh, um, pack tactics. Again, they like getting out of the way and self-preservation, so they have the deft disengage facility, normally only available to um, outlaws, which means they can escape and have a dash in the same round. And normally when you disengage, you provoke an opportunity attack, which is called a rejoinder in the game. You don't hear, just get away. Um, and again, they have an ability where with their slings and catapults to hit directly to the forehead of larger creatures and cause extra damage to them. Orcs, again, a little bit um, misunderstood, but orcs are great fan favourites, particularly in the Warhammer universe, where of thuggish, Cockney thugs. How can you imagine orcs these days not speaking Cockney accent? It seems to be a universal trope, even in Baldur's Gate. So they're large humanoids. Um, they have night vision 6. They use walks as mounts and have riding and wangling at skill level for riding with wargs. Um, they have ability to gain temporary hit points when they use a dash or a charge action, and they have famous brutal weapons with nails and all sorts of spikes. Um, Built in, which have 1d6 piercing damage for 2 hands and 1d4 piercing damage with 1 hand. And in our bestiary, our monster manual, that's built in. They have thuggery ability, which means they have intimidation at trained level, and their last gasp ability. Well, what else? Is a head butt ability. What is this? This is aquamphibians, one of my favourites. Aquamphibians tend to live in giant undersea cities. Um, they're more advanced than many of the other purely marine dwelling lineages, such as Triton, which, because they live only in water, really, are not available as player characters. These undersea cities are air, so they're amphibious. They breathe water and on land, so they can come on land. Um, However, they need to bathe their bodies in water, otherwise they dry up and shrivel up. And they gain expert ability. Of course they do. That's swimming. You can imagine them not having swimming. They also have night vision, the 6 alphas, and resistance to thunder and water pressure damage, but are vulnerable to fire damage. They don't like fireballs. Their sophisticated weapon is a mechanical trident thrower, much like a fish catcher these days, which they get and they acquire the special skill. And their fun last cast ability is to create a huge cloud of bubbles, which allows them to escape. Um, Very vulnerable, very versatile lineages. They could be pretty much any class you wish. Okay, what do you think these are? Champignons. Uh, Champignons are a variety of myconids. However, they're physiognomy is a little bit less exotic than myconids. You know, myconids have no vital parts, which means they're immune to critical hits. That would be too powerful for playable lineages. So, but they do have vital parts. So they're a mixture of animal and fungi. Um, Now, their special abilities, they do have night vision 6, and they do have the ability to create fungal spores in the air, which cause mushroom sprouting, creating difficult ground. That's a fun ability, isn't it? They have the ability to create poisons. And are immune to poison, all poison and disease, which is pretty powerful. And their fun ability is that their body is spongy, which means they have much reduced falling damage. Um, um, well, 15 alphas immunity, so full 15, 20, 25 alphas, you're you're likely to bounce, but pretty slightly hurt, but not greatly hurt. And they have a cloud of spores ability. Um, which creates a fright and a fear effect, which again designed to allow um, champignons to escape in desperate circumstances. Leverets. Now, leverets are one of my favourites. Famous in folklore for their trickery and wit. Um, they're one of two lineages which have differences in size between male and female. For example, females are small, males are large. There's another um, Garudai, which are kind of flightless birds, which are the opposite way round. They're famous for their bursts of speed, their strong hearing, their vitality. They're skilled in romantic seduction. In romantic seduction in spring, they roll at edge, like the Mad March hare. Good at trickery. They're skilled at porkies and survival. They're famous for hunting, but aren't they vegetarians? Well, they hunt giant myconids that roam the plains. Myconids that are often used as transport for um, champignons. So there is this historic enmity um, between the champignons and leverets, which are kind of collateral damage in the hunting of leverets. But it does mean that these giant myconids are often have armor and defenses to the teeth when champignons go long distance traveling. Okay, halfway through now. Furban. Furban are a race of ancient sauropods. You know, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Um, and they were so advanced, it was through their genetic engineering that they created dragons, and then they were brought to our home world, Vanna. Um, but they faded. They only live in isolated, remote cities these days, and struggle to remember their once advanced technologies. Um, they can jump a long distance. They're amphibious and are skilled at swimming. They have this special sense, like many lizards do, sense of movement. So um, they can sense movement irrespective of lighting conditions in their field of view. Um, we need to put a range on that in revising this. Um, they have tough skin, which gives them a natural bonus to armor class, as several lineages do, and they have this special serrated spear at the end of a rope, which they use to disarm or ensnare enemies and drag them towards themselves. And they have a tail, which they use as a last gasp ability, which is again a fun ability. Um, Again, they're very flexible. Can be used pretty much any class you wish. Now, fawns, again, one of my favourites. Fawns love fun. There's a distinction between fawns and satyrs in the game. Satyrs love art, fawns just love partying. They are the party animals, and they are kind of the replacement for tieflings in the game. Of course, they have cloven hooves, so they can climb at full speed. Very strong smell. Um, Fawn Horn, they're skilled +1 in romance and seduction, famous lovers, and they're immune to being charmed because of their fey background. Um, and they can party all night. They, if they're partying, they don't need to sleep, which is a unique ability. You can't beat fawns when it comes to uh, carousing. And the last class ability is to use their horns. Okay, Garudai. Garudai are fun. They are a race of flightless birds, very alien looking. Um, Proud warriors. Again, they have a jump ability and very strong eyesight, like many raptors. And because they're flightless birds, they can run very fast in bursts. They're famed for their archery. Um, Gerodai are perhaps if they have an edge in terms of class, it's as rangers or warriors, um, and in hunting. Um, and they have a special beak which can create a deafening call, which can stun, um, daze and deafen um, um, enemies, and a powerful last gasp ability. Okay, merfolk or mermaids. Um, they've evolved the ability to magically split their tail into legs and go above water. Although, um, if if they away from water for a long time, they will suffer, like many water dwelling. They're famous for their singing. They have siren magic skill, even if they're not bards. So they're the only lineage that have ability to use harmonic magic, whatever their class. Um, they have their siren voices as echolocation, up to 20 alphas. Put down for Furbin a limit of 20 alphas as well for their movement sense. Um, they're skilled at romance and seduction and persuasion. They can breathe on the water. Expert swimmers, of course they are. And they have a magical ability to change the temperature to freezing or boiling of around one flagon, a jug of equivalent to a pint of equivalent to a litre or 3 glasses of water. Um, and they have a siren call, um, um, as an Asgarth ability, which can cause charm effects. Okay, we're nearly there. Ratatoska are rat people, sneaky, scribbly little thingies who can also burrow and climb as well as swim. So they get swimming automatically. They have night vision 6. Um, they um, they can squeeze through small spaces that are no wider than their whiskers automatically as part of an action, such as through narrow tunnels and at full speed. Advantage on smell, particularly cheese and sweets. They can smell very long distances away. They can climb at full speed. They're trained at swimming and have stealth. All of these actually probably give them strong advantages to be outlaws, but they don't have to be outlaws. They could be any class. Their special ability is a high-pitched squeak, which can shake enemies simply because it's so high-pitched. Fun class lineage to play. Smilodons, again one of my favourites. who are fierce, mysterious tiger creatures dwelling in the jungle. They have a bonus to their speed in forests and jungles. A very ancient and very proud race. They can good at charging. They pounce at the end of a charge, which can knock you down. Um, they're very good at smell. Um, they have this weapon called a Spilodon chakran, which is like a discus ring. It's very sharp. You can either hold it and use it as a knife, or throw it and use it as to slice up, um, basically to weaken your opponent through causing a strong bleed, which they then, through their sense of smell, hunt you down. Very good hunters. Smilodons. They can camouflage themselves in forest and environments, and their last class ability is feared, incredibly feared by other lineages, which is called the Smilodon Bite, because they have such, remember they're saber-toothed tigers, so it can cause even a death effect if you're hit by a Smilodon Bite through the sheer loss of blood. Okay, Venarans are a lineage of forest-dwelling apes, um, traditionally fairly tribal. Um, Again, like Neanderthals, can be underclass when they're living in cities. Very proud. Bonuses: swinging from trees and leaping from trees. Um, they thump their hollow chests when they're in danger to warn their their fellow Venarans of threats, which can, charm neighbours and hold them in place. Uh, they have this rolling charge where they just roll at you and attack you, and they have this weapon called a bell mace, which they lock their hands together and then slam you with their bell maces. They have natural fur armor, so that's an armor category of 2. We mentioned the bell maces, and they have nature, stealth, and survival skills at +1. And what they do is they wrap this bell mace over your head and crush you. So as a grapple attack with extra damage as a last gasp ability. Pretty nasty attack. You don't want to be grappled by Venarans. They're strong beasties. Again, a fun lineage to play. This with a great backstory. Vedura are plant people, small, pretty much plant people, small humanoid plant people. They have no internal organs, so they're resistant to all bludgeoning weapons. However, they're vulnerable to slashing weapons, which turn them into chiffonade. They have regeneration, like their bodies are like bamboo, which is unique amongst playable characters, and a strong smell. They can, as it says here, they can detect a single flower in a rainforest of hundreds of millions of flowers. They also can generate acid in their bodies and spit it out. Nasty little thing. And skilled in woodland knowledge, nature, and survival. And it can even create an acid mist attack as a last gasp ability with an area effect. So they live in giant plant cities like champignons. Uh, That's probably Vanara and Druid, could be a Vanara Mage. Okay, that's all really. Thank you very much. In our next video, we will talk about classes and probably have a video for each one of the classes, but we'll have a general overview in the next video. Thank you very much.